Hello, welcome back to the tour. Turning out to be a very selective stage. So I'm going to try something. So I've been breaking all of my own rules today. Done 2 vertical paintings, 1 crane shot, 1 helicopter shot, all things I, for some reason, didn't allow myself to do, but you know, once you break the rules, you kind of stick with breaking the rules, right? You know, if you get away with it, you keep doing it. Of course, in this case, it's not a question of getting away with it so much as it is, hey, that worked. So, well, I guess that's getting away with it, just in a different sense. So this time, is one of the things that could happen is the riders, usually on the descent, but sometimes on the climb, are going a whole lot faster than the motorcycle thinks they are. In the case of the descents, they're going a whole lot faster than the motorcycle can. So occasionally, they'll get in the way. And that's just what happened here. First off, the American Brandon McNulty is just storming up this climb. The Col de Val Laurent Esset, very tough climb. The middle of 3 huge climbs on the day. He has been going up so fast that 1, of course, the motorcycle can't get out of the way. And 2, he has dropped absolutely everyone in the tour. Just put Geraint Thomas off the back. And now it is going to be down to himself until he's got to blow eventually. And his team leader and the guy he's doing all this work for, the guy I'm going to start painting right here, Tadej Pogačar. Now, Tadej had the yellow jersey earlier in the tour, kept it for a couple of days, but now he's gone up against Fingergood, who is currently in yellow, by 2.5 minutes. But it seems that today's objective was to put him into difficulty, and they certainly have eliminated his teammates. Now, the irony is that Tadej has actually lost 2 of his teammates today. One, Marc Soler, was eliminated because he couldn't finish yesterday's stage because he was sick inside the time limit. Went ahead and rode the rest of the stage, which some people felt was less than wise, but I'm quite sure he kept thinking he might come good. He may be able to just make the time limit and be here today to help Tadej take back yellow. So Tadej's team is vastly reduced now. I think they're down to 4 riders, including himself, so it was sure that, you know, his team would leave him high and dry. But instead, you know, and that Jumbo Visma, I think, have lost 1 rider. Not sure about that, but anyway, I'm pretty sure they've lost just 1. Nope, they've lost 2. One of those is their original intended GC guy who finished second to Pogačar for the last 2 years. Sorry about the dogs, but you know, if a leaf moves out there, they're sure it's going to attack them. Or attack the house. They're doing their job. They're keeping me safe. and making sure nobody attacks me while I'm painting the tour. So, returning to the point I was making, so everyone was quite sure that Bagacha was going to be isolated because his team was so vastly reduced. And Fingergood would be able to cover anything with his teammates and just sort of sit on and maybe even attack and completely ice out Bagacha. Instead, it's almost the exact opposite, although it is down to now just these three, and they are now on the front. They sucked up all of the riders that were ahead, all the people who thought, well, this is my day to win a stage of the tour, and instead it is going to be a battle of the two leaders of the Tour de France. It is not ironic. What's the word I want? Well, I'm being patriotic by pointing this out, is that the last two teammates of each of the leaders were both American riders. Sepp Kuss, who just popped off the back just like a kilometer ago, and then Brendan McNulty is still doing all of the damage of the tour. So that's the drawing. Haven't signed it. Now I'm throwing my pen everywhere. I think I just said the title, Doing the Damage. And my unreadable signature. It's just my signature. I'm stuck with it now. But it is a downside to have a signature that you can't read. So, you know, I think of things like, well, you know, I'll look at it this way. All those people who are going to try to verify my art, that my art is my art someday, are going to have to learn that signature. So starting with the warmest, lightest color as always, going to lay in the yellow first. And of course, this is the yellow jersey of race leader. Of course, the big question, obviously, today is, will he be race leader at the end of the day? I think so, but now, there's been a lot put on Tade's time trialing capabilities, which are certainly strong. In fact, 2 years ago? Yes. 2 years ago, he took over the yellow jersey in a time trial on the final, what they call the final competitive stage of the tour. Tradition has it that you don't attack for the lead on the final day, and that's the day left to the sprinters and promenade. In fact, the first part of the stage is ridden at speeds that even I can ride. So the last day of competition is going to be a time trial. So it is believed that that's Tade's best chance to take back the lead is on that day, but he's got to get closer because Vingegaard is a good time trialist, and Tade is not going to put almost 2.5 minutes into him. So the goal today is to bring that deficit closer. I mean, if he takes the yellow jersey today, he's certainly not going to complain about it. So I like this, you know, and this idea of the image was really trying to, McNulty kind of actually looked at the camera, sort of one, mugging for the camera, and two, kind of looking at the cameraman. Not that the cameraman himself was the one causing the problem, but it was his driver who did his best, first got in the way and then did his best to get out of the way. He just went over to the side of the road. And while there's not a lot of advantage to be gained drafting on a climb, there's still some. So if McNulty hung on to that draft as much as he could until he just ran up on the motorcycle. So now just laying in, again, working through the warm colors first. And then I will eventually, so I want to just add more pigment. Those reds were kind of pale, which again is a ratio of water to pigment. So one way is either to more heavily saturate the pigment, and the other, of course, is to layer it. Since it's a transparent medium, you can layer color, but if you don't wait long enough, you won't be layering it. You'll simply be mixing it on the surface. So now coming in with the cooler colors, I tend to start with blue first, and then work to the greens. Sorry, so just taking a moment to look. So now I'm just going to put, because these jerseys, this is the white jersey. So the amazing thing is Tajay is so young. He's already won the Tour twice, but he's still entitled, if he is the best placed young rider, to wear the young rider's jersey. So as in second place, he's certainly high up on the GC, and therefore wearing the white best young rider, which he has held. He has been the best young rider since the Tour started. He pulled that jersey on after the first stage, and nobody has gotten close since. I think it's Pidcock had been the next closest to him, but Pidcock has been having a rough couple days in the Pyrenees, and actually right now is way behind the peloton. So I'm going to lay in this bright green and give that a moment to dry, and then I'm going to come in and add the detail of the grasses. So I'll shift on over here. Oops. Get this other, it's actually the tip of a tree that's down this steep embankment right here. So while it looks like a bush, and then in the deep distance, so you've got this huge drop down the valley, and then you start back up the mountain on the other side. So again, this is this idea of atmospheric perspective. So it's going to be paler and more muted, and also should have a little more blue in it, be a little grayer. There. Let's get some paint up under that thumbtack. And again, I may come back and add some detail to that as well. Now that should be dry enough to come back in here and get some of the straw colored grasses. And a better, yeah, see, there we go. So see, now I can lay these strokes of grass, and I've got that greener background. Add a little bit of texture over here on the other side of the road as well. I'm literally, as you saw, just dabbing the brush. Now I'll come back and give this a little bit darker green. And just these little strokes give an indication of the grasses, and then I want to make it less specific. So sharpness in the near foreground, and as things go recede into the distance, they lose their specificity. Ooh, that was a hard word for me. They get less detail, and they can become more muted. So now, actually, this green tone, a little bit of this amber green, is the color of McNulty's glasses. There we go. I don't know if that's just reflecting the grass around them, or they're actually tinted sort of a greeny yellow. So now I'm going to come in and lay in the darks. I'm going to start with the black in quotation marks. So again, that nice deep purple, and then this deep green, mixing those two together. And I feel like the water ratio is okay, but I'm going to figure that out. Now, of course, I unfortunately picked the wrong arm to start with, since I just did the glasses. So you'll get a little almost algae plume of color blending into the other one, because you'll put two wet colors next to each other. Now I have a little bit of opportunity to correct that, should I need to. Right now it's not too much of a problem, so I think I'm not going to worry about it. So the helmet strap, the all-important helmet. So now I got to build some more color. And that's one of the things I try to get an area, like finish an area before I stop and mix another color, because, you know, this is an inexact science. So there is a definite chance that the color won't be the same. Now this is a much more intense black, a little less purple. So of course I can, and I believe I will, come back in here and add that, just to get that. And then see, now I've got a little puddle here, so I'm going to drag that out so it's not that deep spot. And this is the top tube of his bike, which is really all we can see of his bike. A little bit of this back wheel here. And now we'll move on to his team leader, Pagaccia. And since I got this little gray tone, we'll do the grill of the car behind. Maybe even a little bit of the shadow. Because I think, yeah, no, that's still deep enough. So now I can come in and do his shorts. And on into his bike, which of course we see a lot more of. So I am happy with the way this is turning out. Now, I was a little nervous when I started it that the image wouldn't work as well as I hoped. So, you know, There are many reasons I picked these images. Obviously, this is a big part of the story of today's stage and of the tour in general. But also, I paint to challenge myself. I paint to learn things. And so I'm coming back in here and trying something I haven't tried before. So, worst that can happen is it doesn't work, and maybe even I embarrass myself by filming something not working. Although, who cares? All right, so I was just, while I was speaking, looking at this to see if the shadows are really a factor. The sun is now on this side, shining this way, so the shadows aren't really going to be much of a factor. In previous paintings like that one, the shadow really helps further elucidate what's happening. But, this is plus shadows exist, so they can really help inform the painting, give it a little more dimension. A light source, you need to always pay attention to your light source. And now all I need to do, so obviously there's this white roadway, these two jerseys are white, as is that helmet and a bit of the motorcycle. So when I put in the color of the roadway, which is a brownish, so again, just using a wash, as I lay that in, particularly right here, you'll be able to see that will pop the white jerseys and make the white look white and draw more attention. So this off times is the kicker that really finishes the image. In watercolor, you kind of paint the subject matter and work to the background, as a rule. Again, this is all about breaking rules. But in oil painting, you kind of do it the other way, again, because you've got an opacity to your pigment that you don't have here. So that's this painting doing the damage. Real curious to see what's going to happen on the next climb. I think we're going to have a real battle for the yellow jersey. Enough time to say thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out, I just see a little bit of fingers that didn't get painted. Be sure to check out my blog, theartofcycling.blogspot.com. There you'll be able to see all of the paintings from this year's tour and every bike race I've painted if you dig back deep enough. Just adding a little bit more shadow to their arms and legs. Actually, I think no, it looks good. So craigleach.com is my website where you can see all of my artwork, and everything that isn't already sold is for sale. So thank you so much for taking time to look. Please share, give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear what you think, both about the painting aspect or the tour.